welcome to Paul Taboni and the Nationals, and definitely pulling for those guys, I believe, as he's got started today. So glad to open up to you guys and get rolling.
What have you seen with Jaden over the last week or so, really, as he's dealt with this?
Just a steadfast approach to it, Nikki, first off, to put the work in to say, okay, I got to do all the things to do to get better, and then once you kind of get over the top of that, then the throw in the movements to go. So that's what we saw in terms of the work to get better.
And as far as the other guys, Terry, especially Noah, John Bates, where are they?
Yeah, all are trending up, and that's what I was referring to. I'll give you some updates on those tonight, but we're making good progress with those guys.
Dan, what will the next 48 hours be like in terms of what you're looking for from Jaden before you make a decision?
Just real back into the fold of it, David. He'll get all the reps at the practice, so we'll be back at a full speed, the execution, the timing, all of that. That's really what I'm looking for, but he's definitely chomping at the bit to get going. So, or just running the offense, being back to himself. That was our discussion today to make sure, man, like all the looks, all the calls, and the speed of the practice.
I know you understand his competitive nature, and I'm sure he understands your authority, but I wonder what those conversations are like when he's telling you I can go, and you're telling him I hear you, but not yet.
Yeah. It's good that I've known him for a year and a half now. I think when you're first getting to know somebody, you're feeling that out, but knowing what his best looks like, and also having trust in one another to do that. And so I think that's a big piece of it.
Hi, Coach. You guys are heading into Los Angeles early. What is the benefit for your team to have that extra day of practice at the Coliseum already in Southern California?
Yeah, we decided that in the spring that we oftentimes like to take an extended trip when we can. We had done it for a trip last year. We know obviously we're going to Madrid. We'll do that one as an extended time. I think it's some good spaces for the team to get together. It's also to get acclimated, to get ready. There's a big time change with that, and so we thought we would make that decision to go out early, get ourselves fully ready to go play at our best.
With working Cosme back into the lineup, you guys have had a lot of change on the offensive line. How difficult is that for maybe your signal callers to adapt to all those changes up front?
Yeah, it is part of it, and it's not what you want. Like you'd love for all the guys to play in their spots, but that's just not how it is. I think when we look around the NFL right now, there's a lot of moving parts, on all the teams, ours included, and Sam getting back into it is a step in that direction. But he also has to get back into rhythm and, the combinations and all the communication. So we're just pumped that he's put this kind of work in to allow him to, be ready to get back into with the group this quickly.
Over here.
Got it.
Last year, you guys were 7th, I believe, in the league in time of possession. That's not the case this year so far. With the return of presumably number 5, is that really what you want out of your squad, is to be able to keep that opposing defense off the field and do what you guys can do offensively? Yeah,
we like that, and we feel like, offensively we're definitely making strides on our run game, on our run actions, the play actions that go with that. A good piece of that is also third down. That's one of the areas we really need to dig into because now your drives are continuing. So those are a big piece of that. So, it's part of the formula for sure, Chick. I still feel like it's early days as we're going, and we've got plenty of work, that we need to put in, but that is certainly the goal for us, yes.
With going out to LA early, does that change the timeline for you in terms of evaluating these injured guys who you don't know if they're going to go?
No, because we'll go through practice, as we get into tomorrow. But, no, it doesn't change that time frame on that.
And then I wanted to ask you about Robbie Chosen and kind of more broadly that outside receiver spot.
Yep.
What do you envision for him? And then also, what's your level of comfort with guys like Luke and Jalen and even Debo playing in those outside receiver spots?
Yeah. The silver lining, that's maybe not the right word. Maybe we can think of another name for added benefit, was with Noah and Terry missing some significant time early. I think it ramped up Jalen's space where he was able to even play outside some in the preseason. We did that with Debo, and Luke had already done some of that. So where at once we weren't as interchangeable, and now that we are, I think that's a good step, forward. Robbie's, some of the guys had experience with him, coaching with him before. Cliff has, Wes has, so we had some background with him. Came in, had an excellent workout, and so one of the things I appreciate from Adam, just always digging and competing to see, is there a spot to go? And sometimes it works out great. Other times we just keep competing and digging, but we're pumped Robbie's here, and he's working hard already to, learn it and grow. And there is some familiarity for him too.
Dan, I know it's been a bumpy start for the season for the defense overall, but what gives you confidence that the unit will be able to turn it around moving forward for the rest of the year?
A lot of confidence. I thought, there's a lot of progress that I thought, with the exception of the second half on third down. That's a big piece of how you want to play. I thought, in 2 games, the energy and intensity has been what I'd hoped it would be in pass rush, and 2 others, not so much. And so that gives me a good sense of what I know it can look like. Had we not seen that, I might feel differently. So I've got plenty of confidence in how we want to play and what it will look like. And so I'm very much looking forward to seeing that.
Dan, in terms of the secondary and those back end guys, how do you improve communication? Like, how as a defensive minded coach and your staff, how can you help improve communication with the secondary guys?
Well, I think first it starts in meeting rooms to make sure when you make a call, like you're just echoing it, it's the collaboration, that you're working on together. You take that into the walkthrough portions and then onto the field. So you just emphasize it in every way. It's not going back to walk, crawl, run, but it's just the emphasis of it over and over. Say it again. If you don't hear it, repeat it back. Communication is also sent and acknowledged. So if I give you a call, you're giving me a signal back. Some's verbal, some's nonverbal. So like most things, you get what you emphasize, and we're certainly going to dig in hard on that.
Curious about the balance and kind of the mindset of applying pressure in terms of when to throw a blitz, when to go more blitz heavy, when to rush 4. Take me through that balance of like over the course of a game or even a game plan. Like, how does that plan kind of get constructed?
Well, some of it's based on the opponent, some on your matchups and where you want to go. If you can rush with 4 and affect the QB, obviously that gives you some advantages in some ways because you have another defender, that you can use into coverage. Road, home, are they going with 6-man or 7-man to protect, or 6, or 5? So all of that factors in. You want to have some balance, like most things, like an offense that has either all run or all pass. You want the balance to work on both. And I think the same thing on a good defense, that you want to have the ability to show a blitz, come out of it, show like you're in coverage, bring the blitz, and be able to get in and out of checks. So those are all things that make up a good defense, and you need a balance of both.
Coach, it's a long season, but still one in which you're attempting to go 1-0 each and every week. As a leader of men in that locker room, how do you balance between having the emphasis on this week as well as the patience on the long run?
Yeah, it's a great topic. One for all teams that you're starting to get your identity set. You really want to dig in on what that looks like. At the top for us, our central theme of the program is competition, and that's not just against the opponent. That's with ourselves. See how good we can get together as a team. I loved in the game against the Raiders the complementary football. This a return to a score to working together. So the competitive nature of us doing it together, I think that allows you to not look too far down the road, see how good you can get. You work your skills, and we just try not to look down the road. It's about improvement and getting better, and when you can stay in that pocket, you don't have to look too far down the line. There's plenty to work on, right in front of you for the matchup, for the game, and so that's how we choose to dig in.
Dan, looking at Frankie Louisville, first couple weeks seemed to have more pass rushes than the last couple weeks. I don't know.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
just look at the numbers, maybe.
Okay.
But I'm curious, like, has there been not a de-emphasis, but maybe more emphasis on him dropping into coverage, or would you like to see him rush a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it all depends on how to go to win. Like, obviously, I want him going forward as often as we can, but sometimes the game dictates that too. When he's rushing, when he's blitzing, how we're using him in those spaces. So, yeah, we always want to put him in positions to make plays. So, wherever that looks like, that's where we're at. But I don't think of him any more or less. I thought, honestly, last week he played really good and solid and square in the run game, but maybe there might not have been as many pass opportunities for him in that space.
And then With Marshawn, do you feel teams are going after him? And I guess that would be part one. And then two, how do you feel he has been performing?
Yeah, so part one, when you play middle field coverage, like both corners, get targeted to where you go. Sometimes it's their matchup, sometimes it's ours. I don't feel that's been the case. And then the second part, can you repeat? Yeah, so I'd say when you play corner and you play offensive tackle, like there's a lot of plays that go good, that go unnoticed, and there's one that goes up top, and it's like there's one or there's a sack, and like that's part of, living life, outside. And what I do know about him, like this is one competitive guy, and like he's always down for the challenge and for the fight, and so I'm looking forward to working with him again this week and as we get rocking again.
Hey, Coach. So you've mentioned, September football. So now it's October. So what does October football, what's been the message around what you want to see this month?
Yeah, I think the execution, honestly, Candy, that's the big thing. I want to make sure the energy home road in terms of, how we want to play. And somebody brought up starting fast to me. Starting fast doesn't mean a touchdown on the first drive or a 3 and out. It's a speed and intensity and urgency to go. So I don't want to confuse what that would look like. But I do want to see the execution really, start to dig in. We've had 4 games together. Roles have now begun to emerge. And so, it's a good month to go really dig in to go get better. And now that some of those roles have emerged, that's a big deal for it. Some guys have had to step in, and I've liked what I've seen in some of those instances, Candy, to see guys step up when the injuries take place, knowing that that's a part of it, and the opportunity came early for some of the players, and so it's nice to see them deliver and show and express themselves. Hey, man, I can help, I can do these things, and so I think that's been a big piece of it.
Hey, Coach. Sticking with the injury situation, it's been challenging in this early part of the year. With some of those guys that have stepped in, do you have to tweak any of those things a little bit because of the injuries? You suffered another one last week with Jean Baptiste, and who will be filling in for him?
Yes, you do want to, not one size fits all, Donna, into that. So when somebody's featured in a different role or a different spot, it's not just, add water and the same result will take place. So you may have to do things a little bit differently. I think we maybe spoke about that a little bit with Austin and what that would look like, and then with Will. So with Javonte, in his case, we signed Preston a few weeks back, and so as he's progressing, those would be some snaps that would go his way.
Dan, when you have a guy like Jaden Daniels coming off an injury, obviously he wants to play out of the pocket. Obviously you want to use as many of his abilities as you can. Is there a way to balance that with protecting him and keeping him healthy, or is that something you can't be concerned about? Yeah,
I think you can. Not necessarily the calling of the game, but maybe I had said it a few weeks ago, the only thing worse than missing games is, not taking the lessons from there. And as a scramble goes, when do I get down? When do I get out of bounds? And so, Jaden's still growing too. We feel like he's been playing for a while, and so as he's into his second year, there's still things that he's growing on too, and that's kind of the fun and exciting part. That he hasn't anywhere near the top of what he's going to be, and so that lights me up. But those are some things. Where do you grow? When do you take your shot? When do you not? And so those are the lessons you want somebody to learn at quarterback or at any spot, and I certainly fully expect him to do that. That's the type of competitor he is. All right, thanks, everybody.